to match up with our planning goals here. So in the consideration of the language that's here, I would love to hear your discussion on the matter and how you would want to word that. Do you want to consider what Mr. Esch has offered as a talking point? The point being that if I go through the expense of getting water to the property, and then you don't rezone it, it's a waste of infrastructure and money. But if you rezone it first, then you can later do it. You couldn't develop without getting the infrastructure there anyway. So it merits discussion for how this should flow. So I will hand that to you as a body. Do you want to amend this particular language or leave it as it sits or something different?
Has everyone had a chance, I guess, to review the revised language that Ms. Nichols has put in?
And the reason why I bring it up now instead of a workshop is because we're advertising for a public hearing in accordance with the board's request. We intend to advertise on Friday to hit the April public hearing. If this is something that merits a deeper discussion, I think that's probably okay, but we would end up kicking this down the road a month. So if you want a more in-depth discussion at that time, of course, at the board's direction, we could do that.
What's the general take of the board? Because we're looking at, what are our deadlines again on timing if we want to meet the board's timeline?
If we're going to have an April public hearing, we'll advertise for this on Friday.
On Friday. And I'm guessing we won't get anything done before Friday, just being.
If you don't do it now, it'll be in a workshop and it'll just get kicked down the road, and that might be okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think when we look at this, one of the things we need to look at is not looking at just Mr. Ish's property. How is this going to impact and what's going to happen with a lot of other properties in the county? So I think we need to take a look at the overall picture of what it could do to affect everything else, not only his property, because if we base it just on one thing, then we might still miss the boat.
Thanks, Pete. Anyone else have further?
I mean, I would agree with Pete on that, and I don't see a reason to rush it that much. I don't think we need to take as much time as we did last time we were looking at the R3, but, you know, to have a couple, you know, at least an extra public meeting on it for the board to review and some time to review the documents, I think would be good.
So hearing this, we're looking at private document review and then an additional workshop, the next planning commission workshop, to actually dive in this deeper. And I mean, that workshop's going to be pretty intense as is.
I guess, Alan, we could ask maybe if you could give us a couple scenarios
So
that when we do look at it.
I think that you end up with the language as it's written. You remove it, or the option that I might like a little better is the language that we had included in the R4. Now, the R4 was supposed to be the most intense zone, so public utilities are a must, but the language we had used there is an R4 zone shall only be established where public water and sewer facilities are available or are programmed for extension concurrent with development. So in other words, would be in an RSA service district or planned expansion area, or, you know, these are things that we should put together to catch up and include in our comprehensive plan. So I would say that those are the three reasonable options you would be discussing. But again, it's okay to take it at a workshop, but I wanted to bring it up before we advertised for a public hearing.
And of the three options, I'm assuming, which one would get us to a point to be in front of the board soonest? The third option?
You choose what you want, and if you want to discuss it further, then just let me know and we'll kick it down the road. It's 1 month, but we'll get it right.
Is everybody, let me just add, is everyone clear on the three options that Mr. Nichols just outlined? Let's do,
Restate the options, would you?
The options are, and I'm going to go backwards because they're here, adopt the same language as it reads in R4 that was presented and we found acceptable. Keep the language as it reads here now, which is an R3 zone shall only be established where public water and sewer facilities are planned or available. Or simply remove that sentence, in which case it would be possible to rezone without any planned expansion of public utilities into that area. Remember, it is possible for a developer to build those facilities and then have them taken over by RSA. But to expand on that discussion, I'd rather do that in a venue when I have more time.
This is something that could substantially affect Madison County and way of life, especially pertaining to density and growth. Waiting one more month certainly would seem to be something that may be the right thing to do on this.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the existing landowners, we need to get this one right. I think you're right, Mr. Jackson. With that being said, how much time do we want to block, or do you have blocked for next workshop?
We'll do it after we hear the public and take all the time we need would be my recommendation. So that way we thoroughly unpack it and we're ready to get it done.
And do you expect any other public input or any other amendments or edits to the R3, R4
I
package?
always
prior to
act
then?
under the assumption we're going to get public input.
Perfect. All right, then hearing that, I don't know if we need to do a straw poll, just, I think we all head nodding agree that we want to add this to the workshop and dive into it deeper next time, which would, unfortunately, then push us probably into the May joint meeting with the board. Is that suitable for you guys as well? Okay. All right. And then I guess, Mr. Nichols, we'll work to disseminate information as it comes out to the group, and
Happy to put that together and send it to you.
we'll promise as the committee to read ahead too. Do we need to make a formal anything on this, or is this information?
You're just giving me direction.
It's,
Okay.
no, I don't think we need to do anything formal because it's only an up.
'Cause we're ahead of the-
PC workshop item.
Okay. And nothing's gone up publicly, correct?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nichols, on that one. Then I guess moving on, we'll go to Mr. Smith's legislative update, is that correct?
Sure.
Jim?
This will be quick. Last week, we had what happens in the General Assembly in Virginia is crossover is the term that's used, and that's the week in which both bodies, the House and the Senate, have to finish the work on their respective bills, pass them or don't. If they pass them, they forward them on to the other legislative body for them to either pass or enter substitutes. We have probably 10 bills that we're following fairly closely. I'm not going to get in depth on anything. On Monday was the first day for the Senate Committee on Local Government, first and only day for it to consider the bills. And after incredibly thoughtful deliberation on 36 bills Monday morning, the Senate has acted, sent to the floor, some of which have been passed. All I can say right now is the best thing for us to do is amend our comprehensive plan to ensure that we stay under 20,000 population. And more to follow. But after Friday, I'll have a better feel when we have our lobbyists call on the status of the bills that we're very, very close to. I can assure you that we're going to have to make some amendments to the zoning ordinances and maybe stop some business practices. But I'll get something out over the weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And kind of a segue into the next information. I know there are several questions on how much is coming out of Richmond that is impacting not only Madison County right now, but the pipeline. So Mr. Nichols has put together this next informative packet to kind of go through the system.
Yeah, many of you had expressed an interest in following the bills as they were going through, and especially the ones that affected housing and land use. In front of you is a two-sided flyer with some very basic information on the legislative information system that's available online. as well as on the back page, you've got a couple of the bills that we're tracking that you can just punch in the search bar there and pull them up. It's pretty self-explanatory once you get in there. Very easy to search for keywords and specific bills. I know the board receives regular updates on legislative actions that end up in their packet for you to look at too. So if you want to track any of those things, that is where you do it with real-time updates while they are in session. So that's there for your informational purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. It's actually extremely helpful, so thank you for putting that together. All right, seeing that is the end for new business and internal information. Do we have a movement to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded to adjourn for the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is an aye from the chairman.
So ladies and gentlemen, would you all like to, you just gonna stay right there? Okay. All right, very well. I'll call the Madison County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Let the record show that we do have a quorum with all members present. First order of business would be to approve the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda as presented?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, there is a handout in front of you. I will get to that when you get to old business.
All right, very well. So I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Very well, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Chair votes aye. Motion carries. General public comment? Mr. Esch, you got more to say on?
No,
We heard you the first time. Is there any other public comment back there? Okay, very well. Public comment is closed then. So our protocol, the Board of Supervisors protocol is the same as the Planning Commission. I'll read the case, go to the Planning and Zoning Administrator, questions for him, then we'll come to the applicant to ask for any further comments and opportunity for the board to ask questions there, public comment, and then come back to the board for further discussion or a motion. So we have case number SU-01-26-1, the Towers LLC Special Use Permit. Stuart Squire has submitted an application on behalf of the Towers LLC and Madison Wood Preservers for a special use permit for a new wireless communications facility on property identified as Madison County Tax Map 48-25 in accordance with Madison County Zoning Ordinance 14-13. Property is 1.782 acres per the GIS and is zoned R1. So you have anything to add on that?
Only if you have questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, questions for Alan on this? All right, very well. To the applicant, any further comment? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. We, of course, are requesting your approval of the special use permit for a wireless communications facility, including a 125-foot monopole. So
All right.
we will be happy to present or to answer questions.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Jewett?
I have this is a purely academic question, and it's based on my previous life, but this is a 5G tower, correct?
It will be.
Will be a 5G. What frequency bands would normally run on that tower for the 5G service? Do you know that, or does somebody, I'm sure your engineers do.
We do, and we covered that a bit in our presentation, so the easiest way for me to answer that is to bring that up. I think this is a question Mr. Smith had asked in our last work session, so we do have a little bit of information on that. With 5G, as you may know, there are short, mid, and long-range bands, and I think we can back up. Yeah,
What page
perfect,
is it on,
perfect.
Alan?
Okay, so you're going up to 3.7 gigahertz on the mid-band.
Yes, sir.
Curiosity I've always had with these is that, is there any plans to put like the millimeter wavelength on any of these towers, the real high band, which I wouldn't, my understanding is that that's looking forward into the future with possibly self-driving cars, but it can only be put in a very short, high dense area. I think it's like 400 meters propagation distance. So I'm, just curious as to what, probably beyond what you guys are doing, but what you're looking at as far as telecommunications in the next 5 to 10 years that might need to be to support self-driving vehicles, which I really don't like, but anyway, that's purely academic. That's what I used to do. I used to work in teach telecom, so.
Oh, I see. Well, I think when we were working on more, I shouldn't say this in the past tense, the companies working on 5G in more urban areas are using poles close together, and I'm not doing that work anymore. I'm sure Stuart can talk about it in depth, but in urban areas, of course, you're going to use those shorter wavelengths, and you're going to have the poles close together, maybe using utility poles. In areas like Madison County, that wouldn't be practical for a site like this, because we need to reach 1 to 1.5 miles in this case.
Okay, just thinking, again, not mean to put you on the spot, but I was just curious as to what the current maybe long-range plans were for these towers.
And I'm sure that what you're describing is happening, just not for this particular site right now.
Okay, thank you.
Further question? Yeah, Mr. Buchanan.
It's just a statement, basically, but Jim's other job is a farmer, so he probably wants self-driving tractors.
No, I do not.
But, question, I mean, I live up in Etlin, and you get up past the Etlin store, up 231, and if there's an accident or somebody's in trouble, they can't use a phone. I mean, it's just impossible. And so I've come up on people that have needed to use a phone. I've had to drive all the way to Sperryville to get a signal. Any way or any plans on moving that way up the county?
I believe, Mr. Nichols, you were talking about this earlier.
I called her in the lobby, and we were just talking about this, in fact, I've got an email open to Mr. Gordon to share the specs of the tower, the emergency services tower up there, to see if they would co-locate on that tower.
Okay.
We're trying.
Yeah, I know we're Etlin, so we're not that important, but we'd like to get some coverage up there.
So that's something that Stuart can check on.
All right, thank you.
All right. Further questions for the applicant? Very well, thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
To the public, is there any public comment on this case? No public comment? Very well, so back to the board for further discussion or motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve case number SU-01-26-1 as submitted by the Planning Commission.
Very well, we have a motion and a second to approve case number SU-01-26-1 as recommended by the Planning Commission. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Good. Chair votes aye on that as well, so motion carries. So thank you all.
Thank you all.
If you want to stay around for some endless entertainment, be our guest. But if not, you're free to go. Won't hurt our feelings to walk out. All right, the next item on the agenda under old business is the opioid grant cooperative agreement. Mr. Weekly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. And my apologies, I was being blocked from accessing the OAA portal, so I didn't have the funding information in front of me. You have a very large handout, a two-pager. I set on the dais. The first page is OAR, and I see our wonderful folks here tonight, Ms. Moore and her team, are available for any questions or programs or things you may have directly to them. You may recall, at that time, they were requesting Madison, amongst other counties, such as Orange, Fluvanna, and Nelson, to participate in a cooperative agreement. It's an expansion of their recovery court. So right now, Madison and Orange already have that agreement, and we fund that. I think the last couple of years, we've done that through direct settlement payments instead of out of the general fund balance. It's about $20,000 a year. OAR is looking to expand that, some peer support, some other MAT programs and things. So the first sheet in the pink block is the total program. That would include all 4 localities. And then below that, each locality has a breakdown. We're in green, no offense to them, we probably should have been in blue, we're mountaineers. But each fiscal year is listed there. If you will flip to the second page, that gives you a view of the dashboard. So I'm going to explain the source of funding. So the short answer to Mr. Jewett's question last week was, do we have the funds? The short answer to that is yes. But I would like to go into a brief explanation of funds because I learned something new on the call with our regional OAA representative, Ms. Dupree. So in your green column on that spreadsheet is direct distribution. That is direct settlement funds that come right to the treasurer in that schedule. You see it's broken down by fiscal year. I do want to point out, and I'm not the one that sums up their totals, do not pay attention to the totals because we definitely have not been awarded $5.6 million. That just doesn't exist. You simply would add the projected amounts in that left column to the balance available, and you go each year, and that adds up correctly. But that $5 million total at the very bottom is not accurate. I think they're summing up that whole column, but it doesn't work that way. So those are your direct settlement payments. You should be, I believe we have around 60 to 80,000 currently in balance. Right now, it's only showed that we use, if you go to fiscal year 2025 under direct distributions, under the column used as OAA match, we used $5,000 of direct settlement. That was for the 16th Judicial District Cooperative Grant that we are part of. Actually, it's OAR program, but we're a part with other localities like Albemarle, for example. Then there was additional monies we used for drug court. Like I said, I think the last 2 fiscal years, so that'll be around 40,000. And then we did use between 20 to 30,000 during the renovations of the EMS station. You may recall the rules changed as far as housing of pharmaceuticals. We used to go directly to the hospital for that. That no longer occurs. We have our own pharmacy, very secure, cameras, security system, all that. So we did use funding for that because it is opioid related. We have things there. So that's the green column. The next 2 columns, I don't know if you want to call that a pastel, what that light bluish purple color is in the middle column, followed by the far right column that is blue. Those are your OAA locality. Those are the individual grant funding that's available strictly for Madison. So you would have to apply for it to use it, but it is there. That goes along with the gold standard, which is the last column. You have to sign up for that. It's kind of a bonus. I don't know if it's a 15% bonus, whatever fund availability. That just says we pledge to use those funds strictly by the guidance of OAA, which is simply opioid remediation or mitigation. You can't go buy a Cadillac or something with it. It's very strict for those purposes. So again, yes, the funding is there. What I would recommend is that, and I talked to Ms. Murray before this started, we would use up our OAA individual funds, the grant funds. There is a fiscal cliff for that. So what hasn't been used between fiscal years 2023, the time we hit 2028, I think it's by May of 2028, if you have not committed those funds in that middle column, they roll off. They do not become available. I don't know if they go back into the state's pot of money, but it would not be available to Madison County. So that'll be roughly around, if you look from 2022 to 2028, it's around $62,000 plus the 15,000 in the gold standard. Lastly, I want to point out what does not show on this spreadsheet is funding that's available through the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority, OAA. They have their own reserve funds. And I found this out in my call this week with Ms. Dupree, because that 16th Judicial District Cooperative Grant we applied for, or we agreed to cooperate and be a part of, each locality had $5,000 pledged, I can see this in the portal, for their first year, but out years, the program was showing no funding from localities, and I'm like, well, how does this program keep going? The money's there as a total. Well, the answer is OAA, that's the state, that's the Opioid Abatement Authority, they have a pot of money. So for those cooperative agreements, if you don't pledge any of your direct settlement or your individual opioid monies, grant monies, then it would come from that pot of money. So I don't think you have to get that level of detail if you want to approve the program tonight. What I would recommend, if you wish to approve the program, you move to approve Madison participating in the OAR cooperative grant, which I guess you can call Recovery Court Expansion Grant or something to that nature, and authorize the county administrator to sign off on any forms. If you wanted to get particular, what I had advised Ms. Murrow, and I'll have to have if we need to follow up Mr. Dupree, we can do that. I like to commit our OAA individual grant funds, that's that column in the middle, so we don't lose that by 2028. And then any delta from your first page in those program years under the green for Madison, then the delta of that would be funded through the state's OAA cooperative funds. So I'm sorry if I confused you. You're probably more confused than when you sat down here tonight. But I am happy to answer any questions from the fiscal side. Certainly if there's any program questions, OAR is here tonight if you have those for them.
Okay, questions from the board? For Jonathan or the representatives that are here?
I know this is gonna sound stupid, but Jonathan, bottom line is that what they're asking for, if they get this grant, which is for Madison, FY '27 is $111,884. So what you're saying is that we can basically cover that with these different pots of money from this settlement. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct, and I want to go a little further. When you approve to participate in cooperative grant, it's based on the fiscal years, plural, that they identify, so we wouldn't be just committing for FY '27, it would be for that whole 5-year program period. So the total was 592, 535, 80, but each individual year is broken down, as you can see.
And the monies that don't show up on this, the monies that don't show up on the direct distributions or OAA individual distributions will come from the gold standard incentive.
It will come from the state's OAA
Right.
money that they have available that's not on this list. We don't have the state's ledger, but that's set aside specifically for cooperative agreements.
Right.
And that stays true too. I viewed the one we have with Encompass. That's a peer support program. Peer support, you may recall, it's someone who's had those struggles prior, but they're in a good spot, so now they are peer-to-peer working to get people in a good spot as well as they recover. But that program as well was funded using the OAA, the state's money, and not Madison's, either direct settlement or individual grant. So again, in summary, you have the money if you want to use the avenue of use some of your individual OAA funds, the column in the middle, plus the cooperative grant. Or you could just go all cooperative grant and keep your own money. My only concern is we have discussed this settlement and funds available with EMS, with law enforcement, with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, internally in my office. What are programs? How we can use this? And other than peer, I mean, these are good programs, but other than peer support or drug court, you can't use it to fully fund community paramedicine. We've looked at that. It's gotta be opioid related. If you can identify those number of patients or put a budget together, sure, we can fund a portion, but you can't fund that whole program. A fall patient doesn't mean they have opioid issues. So we have to be very careful on that. So it's been very limited. There is a coalition, if you will, or a group, localities, I don't know if it's tied up by region, but they'll have either monthly or quarterly meetings, and they'll share what other localities are doing. Most of them are peer support, so if we see any creative programming, if you will, that may fit Madison's need, we can certainly look at it. What I would not encourage is using your direct settlement funds. I was sharing with Supervisor Buchanan, when we toured Central Virginia Regional Jail the other day, we met with the superintendent. Prior to that tour, I had asked him, do they have any needs for this funding? And he came back with a similar, they're doing an MAT, a medical assistant, I forget what the T stands for, terrible. Treatment, thank you, that was the easy one of the three. But they do it outside of the institution population. CBRJ is, handles their population, if you will, but it's still citizens of the member counties. So they're gonna kick that around at one of their upcoming jail board meetings, so there may be another request, but that's outside of this program here tonight.
Yeah, I think that was one of my main questions before, was what alternative uses would Madison have besides this? And the answer over the last week and a half is we don't have.
I mean, it's a good problem to have, but it's also,
Yeah,
it's
sure.
money available. It's like you need to, so you don't lose it, so.
I'm curious, have there been any discussions with the school system about a potential use for this?
The initial, when this money became available, yes, we haven't anything recent. There is a program, Mr. Pre talked about on my call this week. I think they went through some VCU curriculum. So there's some educational kind of curriculum stuff that will be a program that you can buy material. I don't know if, I can talk to Anna to see if that works where, a teacher, they set aside a period or a portion of some time throughout the calendar year to cover that, or if it's something they just, hey, here's supplemental information, take home. But that's the only, I'm not gonna say the only program, but the only one that I'm aware of at this time is on the educational side. I guess trying to catch kids earlier, because they are at an impressionable age, or they may have older siblings, or you never know who they come in contact. But that's the only program currently I'm aware of. If you would like for us to explore that, we certainly can do that.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Does a nurse, or do they have Narcan, or what is it called,
Narcan is that, I'm not sure if the schools have that. I know our EMS does. That's become so readily available that you really wouldn't need to use these funds to acquire that. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, any further questions from the board? So how?
So the motion, if you wish to approve, and if you've got any fill in the blanks, we'll do that as well. I should have prepared a motion script, but would be move to approve Madison's participation in the OAR grant cooperative agreement as presented, and authorizing the county administrator to sign off on the grant. There's a grant application that requires signature.
All right. So how, is, that grant was, can you bring a mic to them, please? That grant is due tomorrow? No,
I think the 10th.
2 days from now,
A week from Monday.
from this past Monday?
The 16th of March.
Okay. So, all right. That's what I remember. So how's that going?
That's great. I'm
Is
running
it-
around Central Virginia, going to a lot of
Yeah.
meetings.
Okay. Very well. All right, back to the board for further discussion or motion.
I'm gonna put our attorney on the spot. I hate to do this, but Mr. Wright, I mean, what's your input, what's your opinion of this program? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but you work in the criminal justice system.
Do you mean the recovery court?
Yes.
So it is
a good, it's usually folks that are kind of their last chance. It's usually, they've already been convicted of something, they've had 1 or 2 probation violations, and they're about to go away for a long time. And so there's a screening process. Usually it's the Commonwealth's attorney for each place that is sort of the gatekeeper of who they think is going to be a good candidate for this, based on a bunch of factors that they use, right? And you correct me if I'm wrong on any of that stuff, but a lot of it's age, recidivism risk, basically if they think it's somebody they can work with. And then they're put through it. I mean, especially that phase 1 where they're coming to court weekly, and if they're not doing what they're supposed to, they've got sanctions within it, which is they'll throw them in CVRJ for a few days to think about things, or make them do community service, or whatever it is. And then the ultimate sanction is if they don't pass it, then they're going to be back in front of the normal judge for sentencing for whatever it is that they got in trouble with in the first place. But, you know, a lot of times the courthouse is sort of the hammer, and everything that walks in is a nail. And this is a different tool to try to get some people on the right path. I mean, my information's anecdotal. I don't have the data that these guys do, but seeing some of my clients that have gone through it, and also seeing some of the ones that have washed out, it's not something that you can just coast through and continue to use. I mean, it's certainly not that. If anything, it's rough on some of those people. But the other one that's also really hard to capture beyond just the data of like who comes in and who succeeds, I mean, I've had people that have gotten a lot of the way through it, let's say 9 months, and they're clearly better for having done it, even though they didn't graduate. I mean, they've learned some skills, they've done some therapy, they've got some coping mechanisms, they always talk about people, places, things, in terms of like getting away from to live better. So hard to measure all of the good it does. In my opinion, it's worth doing, at least particularly when you still have, I'll say, opioid abatement money, which has got to be certain specific purposes used. Then I think it's worth supporting. Again, personal opinion.
Okay, thank you. That carries a lot of weight.
Anything further? Very well, then we're looking for a motion regarding the OAA grant, the cooperative grant.
Try to remember everything Jonathan said.
Just throw it out there and so move it, or what would you prefer?
Let me try it first, and then we'll do this. I'd like to make a motion that we approve Madison's participation in the OAA cooperative agreement, and also authorize our county administrator to sign off on the funds. Close?
Yeah, and Mr. Buchanan,
Is there a second?
OAR. It is using OAA, but it'll be the OAR cooperative grant, so.
I was gonna say.
Amended to say
We need a
OAR.
second so we can go to discussion if there's further discussion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we got Mike second. Now, further discussion?
That was that one thing, just clarify, it's OAR, not
Okay.
OA, even though we're using OA funds, a lot of alphabet soup.
And OAR, Offender Aid and Restoration, is located over in Orange. It's kind of a probation office that helps Madison and Orange County. Does it do any other counties, or is OAR just
We're
those
getting
two?
ready to expand, maybe.
Okay, got it. Just for your alphabet soup, trying to contextualize.
Right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, chair votes aye, and the motion carries.
Very good.
Thank you. Okay, next item, no new business. Is there any information and correspondence, Mr. Weekly, Mr. Nichols? Yeah. All right, back to public comment. Mr. Of course, Mr. Ash.
This is simply a suggestion, and you know, whether you go through the planning commission here, or we go through the board or whatever, I was wondering if you would consider, creating a water and sewer service district area. And that would, that would, anybody that wants to rezone inside that area would be able to do that based on the water and sewer criteria. Now, let's say, for an example, so in other localities in Culpeper, if you're outside of that, then you have to come to the board and request to be put into the service district. And so if the board doesn't grant you that, then you can't rezone to be able to participate. So I just wondered if, just want to make a suggestion that if we could maybe consider doing a water and sewer district area, and you could draw the map wherever you want it to be. Doesn't mean that RSA has to service that area. It does, it's just saying this is the general area.
Well, even though this is public comment, Al, go ahead, Alan, just give him 5 words or less, tell him where we are on that.
5 words or less? We're working on it.
We are working, that's it.
That's right. Perfect.
No, that is, yes.
We have drafts, if you'd like to see, so at some point in the future, let me know. Couldn't shut up, sorry.
All right, anything further? Any further public comment? Very well, public comment's closed. We have no closed session, so entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay?